Today we're going to be talking about finding volume with unit cubes. So let's look at our first example. Wesley stacked unit cubes to make a rectangular prism, a Rubik's Cube. So we're going to take a look at an actual Rubik's Cube for a moment. And this type of figure is called a rectangular prism. So it is three-dimensional, as you can see, and we have stacked cubes, these little almost like dice. We have stacked these cubes to create this three-dimensional shape. So what we're going to do is we are going to figure out some things about our rectangular prism, our Rubik's Cube. So first, we are going to figure out how many unit cubes are in each layer. So as you can see, a Rubik's Cube is made of layers, okay? So let's look at this top layer. We want to figure out how many little cubes are in this layer. So we have 3, 3, and 3. So we have a total of 9 cubes in each layer. So we're going to go ahead and fill that in. There are 9 unit cubes in each layer. Now the second thing we're going to figure out is how many layers there are in this rectangular prism. So we stacked up these layers, and as you can see, there are 3 layers. So there are 3 layers. Now, one way we could think about doing this is by adding the cubes in each layer all together, and that is going to tell us how many total cubes are in this figure. So if we were going to do it that way, we would say, okay, well, the first layer has 9 cubes, the second layer has 9 cubes, and the third layer has 9 cubes. So that would be a total of 27 unit cubes. Now, a faster way to do it is to say, well, how many layers are there? There are 3 layers. And how many cubes are in each layer? 9. So we would simply multiply 3 times 9 for a total of 27 cubic units, or little cubes, okay? Now, another way you can think of these little unit cubes is with a die. So these are just regular, dice from games and things like that. So as you can see here, I've kind of created, it's not perfect because I didn't have enough perfect cubes, but we're going to pretend they're all the same size and perfectly fill this box. And as you can see, we have just one layer here, and we have 16 total cubes in my one layer. So if you get confused about what a unit cube is, just remember we're talking about something that's like a die, one of our dice. Okay, now let's take a look at our next figure. So I drew this by hand, so it's a little lopsided, but we do our best, right? So let's look at this one. It says find the volume of figure A. I should have labeled this figure A. Okay, now first let's figure out how many layers there are. So if we look at our rectangular prism here, I see we have a layer right here. You see it? That's our first layer. We have a second layer right here, so that's 2 so far, a third layer, and then one on top, a fourth. So we have a total of 4 layers. Now let's figure out how many cubes are in each layer. So probably the easiest way to do that with this type is to just look from the top down. So of course this is the top of our rectangular prism. So I'm going to count in this first layer. I'm going to actually shade it. That way you can really see what I'm doing here. So, okay. So all of these cubes that are in that first layer, we're going to count. So we have 1 here, 2, 3, and then in the back 4, 5, 6. So we have a total of 6 cubes in each layer. Now, we're going to figure out our volume. So we have 4 layers. Remember to do this, we just say the volume equals the number of layers, which is 4, times the number of cubes in each layer, which is 6. So our volume is 24 cubic units, or little cubes. Okay, cubic units are just the little cubes. All right, let's take a look at our next situation. Okay, it says a block has a volume. Okay, so a volume is just how many of these cubes it'll hold. Okay, how many it's holding. A block has a volume of 30 cubic units. So it has 30 of our cubes. Okay, so 30 of these. And the block has 5 layers. How many cubic units are in each layer? Okay, so this one's a little different because they're giving us the volume, but they're not telling us how many cubes are in each of our layers. So let's just fill in what we know in our little formula here. So we have our volume. It's actually telling us that our volume is 30 cubic units. And it is telling us that we have 5 layers. The one we do not know is how many cubes are in each layer. So that is kind of our mystery number, our unknown. So we have to say, okay, well, 5 times something is going to give us 30. So if you think to your basic facts, 5 times 6 will give us 30. So the correct answer here is there are 6 cubes per layer. Okay, let's look at the next one. Number 4, a box has a volume of 3 cubic units. So I'm gonna take 3 of my dice. Unfortunately, they're not all the same. What can I do here? Actually, here, let's do this. I think you can see my little situation here. Let's use the blue ones. See, I don't have enough of the same. This is silly. I think these are the same size, for the most part. I think this one's that same size. Yeah. And that one. So 1, 2, okay. Excuse me. So we have some cubes. And it's saying it's a volume of 3. So we want to do a little sketch. I'm just going to use actual cubes here. So 1, 2, 3. Now, when you do these, you couldn't do something like this. Okay, that's not filling a box. That's a different kind of shape. So you want to make sure it's an actual sort of rectangular prism. So the only way to arrange this would be just to do a row of 3. So this is a single layer, and each layer here has 3 cubes in it. So the volume is 3 cubic units because there are, guess how many cubes? 1, 2, 3. So there are 3 cubes here. Now, the sketch, if you would like to know how to do the sketch, because I think that's on your homework, how you do it is you first draw what it would look like if you were looking at it from the side, like that, okay? So you go ahead and you sort of draw just a rectangle, all right? So draw a rectangle. And this is gonna have 3 cubes in it. Whoops, it's not very straight. Sorry, being messy. Okay, now, 1, 2, 3, okay? This does not have to be perfect, guys. I mean, obviously, look at mine. This is kind of sad. So, that's really bad. Okay, now, what I want to do is I want to turn it like a little bit 3-dimensional, okay? So how you do that is you go ahead and do a diagonal line here, and these should be at the same sort of angle, okay? And then you just connect them back there. Okay, connect. You missed that. Then you draw this diagonal line at that same sort of angle as these. So like that, and then just come down. And we do not have any, it's just blocks, a single layer and a single, these should be at that same angle as well. That's pretty pitiful. Okay, so anyway, you can see I drew basically this, okay? Now, we're gonna look at the next section here. It says, we have another box that has 2 times the volume of the first box. So this was our first box. We want to draw something that is having 2 times the volume of this one. So this one had a volume of 3 cubic units. So we want it to be 2 times the volume of the first one. So I could just say to myself, well, I want to do twice as much. So 2 of these, right? Now we have to put them together to create an actual rectangular prism. So what we could do is stack them up. So now we've created a rectangular prism that is twice as large as this first one. So we're going to look and see, we have 2 layers. You see that? So we have 2 layers, and we have, how many cubes are in each layer? 1, 2, 3. 2 layers times 3 cubes per layer. So it's 3 times 2. So the volume is 6 cubic units. Okay, and it makes sense because this one was 3. We want something that is twice as big. Okay, that's what it says in the directions. So it was just, you simply multiply this by 2 and it will give you the volume. Okay, so the volume of the second box is 6 cubic units. Cubic units just means cubes, okay? Just cubes. So there is our figure. Now, if you have to sketch it, you would just do this. I'm just going to go up to this and show you what you would have done. You would have made this up 1 more spot. And then this would have been like this, you see? Okay, so of course you wouldn't really be able to see inside the figure to see those. I mean, I guess it would look kind of like that. Okay, so you can see we have our 2 layers of 3, just like this. Okay, have a great day, guys.